I'm Alexis.
And I'm Tiffany, and we're the hosts of Legit Kid Lit, a video series where we get to see into the secret and silly lives of authors and illustrators.
We love to celebrate and promote books, but most of all, we want to say hey to all you readers out there trying to find that right book for you. We hope that you can find some new reads after today.
Today's guests are joining us all the way from Canada. Colleen Nelson is an 8th grade teacher, amazing, and is the author of numerous picture books, middle grade books, and young adult books. When do you find the time to sleep? We also welcome middle grade author Michelle Kadarusman. Michelle is the author of 3 middle grade novels, 2 of which have won awards. Michelle has lived in Australia, Indonesia, and Canada. So I'm really curious as to how you both know each other.
Colleen and I met, I believe, if this is right, Colleen, we met at the Forest of Reading party a couple of years ago for the first time, but I definitely knew of Colleen before I met her because of her beautiful writing, and we are also publishing sisters. We have books at the same publishing house, Pajama Press, but I love all of Colleen's books, especially the Harvey books. And we've hung out a couple of times at different events. We live in different places, different cities in Canada, so we don't get to see each other in person, especially now. But I hang out with Colleen on social media a bit as well. But I think the first time was the Forest of Reading. Colleen's going to kind of tell me if I'm right or not.
Michelle is exactly right. Yep, it was at the Forest of Reading, but I had also been a fan of Michelle's because I'm on a committee here that picks the Manitoba, my province, the Manitoba Reader's Choice Book Awards. So I'd read her first book, Theory of Hummingbirds, and loved it. The story is about 2 kids who think that their librarian has discovered a wormhole in the library and she keeps disappearing. And it's the perfect middle grade book, in my opinion. So I just adored that book and was so excited to meet Michelle. I think lots of times, because authors work so much in isolation, you really respect other writers, but you don't always get to really talk with them. It's not like teaching where you're at school and you get to talk to your colleagues all the time. So whenever you get to meet another author who you really admire, it's just so fun because they're always really normal people. And of course, Michelle, her accent. I mean, I just want to listen to her talk all day long.
Colleen, can you tell us what 5 things make you you?
So the 5 things that make me me, I'm going to say first that I have a really big family. There's 4 kids in my family. I'm the oldest, and I'm very close with my 2 sisters and my brother, as well as my 11 nieces and nephews. I also have a big, immediate family. I've got 3 older stepkids and my 2 boys, James and Thomas, and Rosie, and a husband. So when we have family get-togethers, it is a jam-packed affair. My very favorite 2 foods are sushi and chocolate, and if I had to pick between either one of them, I don't think I could. My friends and I often make jokes that we could probably just live off of those 2 things. I also have a very good knack for picking which Harry Potter houses my students would be in. I'm at a 95% accuracy rate, and the kids will let me guess, and then they take the online quiz that I know Alexis uses on her author interview blog. So that's kind of fun to help the kids to see who I think they are, and I'm usually right. I also love playing Scrabble. Well, I used to. My husband and I get into regular arguments about words, and so he won't play with me anymore. And my son James had started playing last year after he read a really good book by Susan Nielsen called Word Nerd, and unfortunately he has started beating me, so now I've also lost another person to play with, but maybe I could get Rosie and teach her to put tiles on. And my very last thing is that my dream was to travel to as many countries as my age. So the closest I ever got was when I was 22 and I had traveled to 18 different places, and then I met my husband, and we just kept going back to the places we liked. So my dream is probably busted because now I'm way too old to get to as many countries as my age.
Michelle, your turn. What is your hidden talent?
Colleen, I have to say, before I tell you my hidden talent, Colleen, I have to say that I love Scrabble as well. So maybe we can play one day, but maybe we can play Words with Friends until we see each other next. My hidden talent is I can parallel park, reverse park. I don't know how you say it down there. Really, really well. If you have a car and you need to get into a tight spot, I am the one to do it for you. It's a special talent, what can I say?
Okay, Colleen, what is the last thing that you cooked?
The last thing that I cooked, that's a really good question. Well, it would have to be dinner last night, which was marinated. I'm trying to remember the marinade. It was like a soy sauce marinade, and I had pulled out a pork tenderloin from the freezer, and I thought the other thing I pulled out was a pork tenderloin, but it was chicken. So it was like a multiple meat kebab marinated, and I made rice and carrots, and there were no complaints, which is amazing in my family because my children think it's like a 5-course meal every night that they should be having, even though they would probably just be very happy with hot dogs every night.
Michelle, what are your writing quirks?
My writing quirks are, I think, probably the main one I have is I sort of just hold everything in my head. I don't really do outlines or I don't plot things out. I just kind of hold things in my head until it's all written down. And so I go on long walks and I come up with other ideas and things, and it all just kind of gets held in there. And I'll just kind of scribble bits and pieces out, but I don't really do the classic outline and overview that I think most authors rely on, and I probably should. It's just the way I do it. I don't know. And sometimes something's been so, I've worked something out so with so much detail in my mind, and I'll go through my manuscript looking for that scene, and I can't find it, and I realize, oh, I haven't actually written it down yet. It's still just kind of up in my head.
I always find it so interesting to hear how other writers process things. Like, I hear voices in my head, and then that's the character that I want to write about. But one of the things that's so beautiful about Michelle's writing, especially Music for Tigers, is that she writes, I feel like it's coming from such a personal place. When you read her descriptions of the Tasmanian forest, it is one of the most visceral, which is a fancy writer word, experiences, because it really feels like you are there and immersed in the forest. And you can tell that Michelle has let the ideas ruminate in her head, another author word, until she's ready to really encapsulate what she wants to say and put it on the paper. So to me, Michelle's writing is so rich. I can see how she lets things tumble around in her head for a long time until she's ready to put it on paper or computer screen.
Thank you, Colleen. That means so much to hear that. And thank you for giving me permission to do it in the kooky way that I do it. But that means a lot. Thank you so much.
So, Colleen, if you had a song that played every time you entered a room, what song would it be? And would you sing it for us?
You definitely don't want me to sing anything, and my children will attest to that. So I actually taught preschool for about 4 years. I went on a maternity leave after I had my boys, and that stretched into 10 years. So towards the end of it, I started to teach preschool, and my favorite song that I would sing with the little kids was called Sleeping Bunnies. And I was so self-conscious because the parents were in the room and I had to sing in front of grown-ups. I mean, the kids, whatever, right? They don't care. But I was like, oh my God, these parents' ears are gonna bleed. So I would always make a joke that, okay, like, here goes Miss Colleen, I'm gonna start singing. But Sleeping Bunnies is the best song, and I would sing it to my kids all the time. Okay, you've convinced me, Tiffany. I'm gonna sing it for you, so get ready. It goes like this. It goes, see the sleeping bunnies in their beds all day. Shall we gently wake them with a little song? Oh gosh, I can't remember how it goes the rest. I haven't taught preschool in a long time. But it's a really calming song, and then it ends with everybody clapping and waking up. And I think that is like the best metaphor for who I am. Nice and calm, but when you need to be woken up, I'm there to cheer you up and get you going, especially as a grade 8 teacher.
Colleen, I want you to come and sing Sleeping Bunnies to me every night before I go to sleep. That is beautiful.
Michelle, what are you watching on Netflix right now?
I am watching The Queen's Gambit, which is fabulous, and I've got two kind of streams of things I watch. Things I like to watch on my own that my husband isn't interested in watching, and stuff we watch together. So my husband and I just finished watching together a Japanese-British crime series called Giri Haji, which was really fabulous as well. I'm also really excited because The Crown has a new series starting on Sunday, so I'm really excited about that. I love English period programs especially.
Now that we know a little bit more about you and have a glimpse into your lives, we want to know more about your books. So Colleen, you have written numerous books. Can you describe one of them in 5 words?
All right, well, I'm going to go with Harvey Comes Home because I think this book is very near and dear to my heart. So in 5 words, I'm going to pick West Highland Terrier, which technically is 2 words, but I think you'll give it to me. I'm going to pick Retirement Home, okay, also 2 words. And we should make a haiku about our book. That would actually be really funny. So West Highland Terrier, Retirement Home, Intergenerational, and Helping Hand. So my little Westie here is Harvey, and Harvey helps an old man kind of come to terms with some things that have happened in his past. He gets found by a boy named Austin, and his owner Maggie is looking for him. So it's a very sweet, tender story.
Colleen, what do all of your books all have in common? This might be tough.
Actually, I've been noticing that my books do have something in common. I don't know if it's for all of them, but there is definitely elements of intergenerational love. I was very close with my grandma and my grandpa, and I think that relationship has influenced a lot of my writing, especially my middle grade. I tend to really look at that, a young kid gaining wisdom from an older person. When I look at my young adult books, it's a little bit different because it's a different genre, and the problems that the kids face are so much grittier sometimes, at least in mine. So I would say in the young adults, the thing that they all have in common often is that the main character has the strength to get through, but has to realize they have the strength. And then I wrote a fun picture book called Teaching Mrs. Muddle, and that is more like a little girl who's kind of spunky and is gonna have to help her teacher because the teacher she acts like she doesn't know what she's doing. So that doesn't have anything in common with the others.
Okay, Michelle, it is your turn. Describe one of your books in 5 words.
Thank you. So I'll choose Music for Tigers, which is my latest middle grade book. And the 5 words I would say is nature, animals, self-empowerment, friendship, family.
Your covers, both of you, have wonderful covers that just grab the eye. I love it.
Yeah, and we have to give a shout out. The covers that Pajama Press make are amazing. There's an art director, Rebecca Bender, who is also a children's author and illustrator, and she is the designer of the covers, and she does an amazing job.
Michelle, do all of your books have something in common?
They all do. They all really do. the common theme is always self-acceptance and friendship, self-empowerment, and celebrating differences. Those themes are pretty much hardwired into all of my stories. I guess because they're so important to me and so important, I feel, to share. I think they're the main themes. So you'll find them in all of the books. And you'll also find animals and nature, and how we interact with nature and animals. I think really it tells a lot about who we are. So you'll often find those themes kind of wound together.
So now let's do some quick fire would you rather. First one up. Would you rather time travel to the future or the past? And this is for each of you.
I would time travel to the past. Lately, I've been really missing my kids when they're little. They're 22 and 24. I would time travel and spend a day with them when they were like 1 and 3.
Yeah, I always joke that I would be a great pioneer woman because I like the simple things. I don't need a lot of technology in my life. I'm pretty happy reading and writing and gardening and doing more simple things. So I would like to go back to, I think I'd be really curious to see what life was like about 100 years ago, just before, when cars were just starting, and it seems like it was a harder life, but at the same time, a more simple, and maybe people were a little more chill and relaxed. They didn't have to worry so much about answering all of their emails and text messages.
All right, let's see what our next one will be. Would you rather have shirts 2 sizes too big or 1 size too small?
Most definitely too big. The days of wearing too small shirts are far, far behind me.
That's hilarious. Definitely too big. There's nothing better than getting all cozy in a big oversized shirt, especially where I live. It's winter now. There's snow on the ground. It was minus 17 the other day Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Cold. So for sure, I want something that's too big and I can cozy up in.
All right. Pizza or tacos?
That's really hard. I really love both of those things. If I had to choose, I would say tacos, but fish tacos. I had fish tacos for the first time in Mexico a couple of years ago, and wow, I've just been on a search for the best fish taco ever since.
Okay, so Michelle and I are finally going to disagree on something. I'm going for pizza. The smell of freshly baked pizza, I guess it's more the dough, but we order from a really good place and the ingredients are super fresh. Black olives are my favorite topping, which nobody else likes, which is great because then I get a whole half a pizza. So yeah, I'm definitely going for pizza on this one.
Colleen, you have to come to Toronto. We have to go out for pizza, and I love pizza too. And in my family, I'm the only one who likes anchovies, so I always put anchovies on mine. So, I kind of put them everywhere, so no one else so I don't have to share with anyone else.
Our viewers love to see pets, and so can you each share us your pets, and maybe they can do a trick for us?
This is Hannah. And right now she's hard at work. She sits on the sofa here and she watches out the window, and she especially looks for the postman, who she will immediately erupt into terrifying barking. She's on the lookout for him all the time, and any other dogs who might dare to walk past her window. She takes her position of head of security very, very seriously. She doesn't like the camera. It's funny, whenever I try and take a picture or anything, she always kind of moves away. But she's a rescue dog, and we love her very much.
How gorgeous is Hannah? I love those little paws sitting right beside her chin. She's so sweet, Michelle.
You think she's sweet because you're not the postman.
Okay, so Rosie abandoned me. She was on my lap for a long time, which is pretty unusual for her. and she doesn't do any really amazing tricks except look super cute and make us do whatever she wants with her Rosie mind control, because none of us can resist her.
Rosie mind control, I love that.
Yeah, and Rosie takes her job as head of squirrel security very, it's a very important job. And when there is a squirrel running across our fence outside, she's at the door and you can see her back end is quivering and she's like a sprinter. And so as soon as we open the door, she like races outside and runs back and forth across the fence. It provides us with hours of entertainment.
Before we go, Colleen has a superpower. She has the power of book recommendations. Any kid or reader who needs a new book, Colleen is there to save the day. So we have a couple of viewers who need a book recommendation. First up is Sarah. Sarah is 12 years old. She loves to read about dogs, but has a trouble finding books that hold her attention. Can you recommend books for her?
I'm going to jump in here and say, Sarah, you have to get Colleen's books, Harvey Comes Home and Harvey Holds His Own, if you're a dog lover, because not only are there dogs in the book, but you also get to read the perspective of the Westie in the story, which is amazing. I don't know how Colleen does it, but you get to experience what it's like to be a dog, not only read about the dogs, but plus there's a cast of fantastic characters and really great stories as well. So I highly recommend those two books.
Thank you, Michelle. And you know what? If you're an animal lover, then actually Michelle's Music for Tigers is the perfect fit also. What Michelle does so beautifully in that book is she really focuses on biodiversity. The Tasmanian tiger is an animal that has been extinct for, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, around 100 years. The last one was seen decades ago. So in Music for Tigers, they spot what they think might be the very elusive and potentially extinct Tasmanian tiger. The other books that I would recommend are Callie George writes a series about a girl who is training a Pegasus, and it's fantasy mixed with mythological Greek mythology. It's beautiful. So the first one is The Wings of Olympus, and Callie George also writes another series that is called Heartwood Hotel, and it's a younger middle grade. It's so sweet. It's about this little mouse who lives in the Heartwood Hotel, which is an old tree trunk, and the guests that come by, and of course she gets thrown into some situations where she has to help out the other animals. And then there's an excellent story by an author called Rachel Delaney, and she writes The Spotted Dog Last Seen. It's a mystery book. So those are my recommendations for Sarah.
So we have another reader. His name is Levi, and he is 7 years old. He loves Fortnite and Baby Yoda and graphic novels. What book should he read next?
Okay, so I'm gonna go with a series called The Time Warp Trio. It is about 3 boys who start to do some funny time travel, and they end up going, the first one takes them back to the Middle Ages. So I think there's some battle scenes. I think if you like Fortnite, that would be up your alley. 7 is maybe a little young to be reading the Origami Yoda series, but that's another really fun one that I read to my kids. And because Fortnite is all about survival and staying alive, the I Survived series is always a hit with my students. I especially like the Joplin Tornado one, so I'm going to recommend that as my final choice for Levi.
Colleen and Michelle, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We have had such a great time.
We really enjoyed seeing you two interact and share some author and book love. And we definitely want to take a trip to Canada and visit you. So thank you so much for spending time with us today.
To all our wonderful readers, we hope you enjoyed our show and are inspired now to pick up some new and exciting books.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Disco Party!